by the way, and thanks for everyone tuning in tonight. This is a very good story. Well, it wasn't good to start with. We think it's now turned good. It's the Patrick Coyle, and I've dubbed it, he escapes from the mental health abuse in Northern Ireland. Now, if people remember that Patrick Coyle, he was just a normal father, had problems with his wife, they split up, and then suddenly the GP picked on him. And the story as follows. A GP, Dr. Peter Saberwell, Campbell Surgery, Dungannon, has been caught red-handed, yes, red-hot-handed, threatening the dad of 4 kids, Patrick Coyle, to hand over his kids to social services or to be sectioned under the Mental Health Act in a tape recording that has gone viral. The GP has persisted in carrying out his threat and admitted Patrick to a mental health hospital despite being sacked by his patient for trafficking patients and their children into mental health institutions and foster care. In a shocking conversation during a private consultation, which everyone around the world has the evidence, the GP threatens the dad in front of his 7-year-old that his mental health is questionable because he refused to engage in the kidnapped attempts by social workers. Hours later, Patrick was kidnapped, or arrested, as the police would put it, by police and social workers without due process, without the proper court orders or mental health sectioning. And David Girvin and Lisa Girvin, acting on secret information without any warrant, incident or cause, basically got him locked up into the Southern NHS Trust. Now, the story goes after that. Under duress, I think poor old Patrick Coyle did sign something. He didn't know what that was at the time. And basically the rest is history. And let's go from going into the hospital, then Tracy. We've got Tracy on the line. You've heard this story all around the internet as well as I have. We don't know where Patrick is. We know he's safe. Hopefully he's got his lawyers with him and his health workers with him. But can you let people know the story? So he's in this hospital now. He's not this minute, but, you know, he was in this hospital. What happened next?
Hi, Andy. It's been a long 6 weeks, maybe more, actually. I think more than 6 weeks. Patrick has been through hell. He's had his phones taken from him. He's not allowed visitors. He's not allowed calls. They even when the solicitor phoned the hospital, they would not allow him to speak to the solicitor unless it was on loudspeaker with all the medical staff there. Now, that's unlawful in itself.
It breaches his human rights, doesn't it, that one?
Oh, yeah, I mean, the solicitor was disgusted. You know, that he had to speak with Patrick on a loudspeaker. The solicitor agreed at that time due to the fact that Patrick Lee desperately needed someone. But when I sent down a good solicitor to speak with Patrick, he had no sooner left, and the medical team, or whoever's involved, who we know is involved, they then sent in a solicitor who was apparently connected to his mortgage company. Now, in my eyes, they sent this solicitor in to sabotage and to sway Patrick's way of thinking. This solicitor is called Fergal. I think he's from the Newton Ards area. And he took £300 off Patrick's mortgage company friends. He's in like a group, like a mortgage group, where they help with your mortgage and things like that when you're having issues or you feel your house is going to be repossessed. So they then told him that there was a solicitor been paid £300, and that solicitor came to him. And that solicitor told him to give him all false hopes, told him, I can pay £300, you know, to get you out of here, and I'm going to sort this. You'll be hearing from me very soon. So the next thing we hear from the solicitor a couple of days later to say that the hospital refused to release the medical notes of Patrick Coyle. Now, that would ring alarm bells with me right away. But when I asked Patrick, had he heard back from the solicitor, and when the solicitor called him to tell him that they wouldn't hand over the medical files, My question to Patrick was, right, okay, and Patrick, and what's the solicitor doing about them not handing over the file? The solicitor has disappeared. Then there was another solicitor that came in and tried to sabotage it. So Patrick was left with no solicitors because the one who was paid the £300, Patrick thought because he was paid the cash in hand by this mortgage team, his so-called friends, this solicitor has done absolutely nothing. He's done a runner, done nothing for him. Now that rings big alarm bells with me. And that solicitor who took that £300 off him will not walk away from this. I will hold him accountable for whatever fraud he put upon Patrick Coyle while he was detained in Bluestone. Now, all week we've been working with Patrick, and today they decided to allow him out for 6 hours, from 12 to 6. They allowed him to go to a family member's home, which I don't want to involve those family members because it has absolutely nothing to do with him. And Patrick's escape from the institution has absolutely nothing to do with any members of his family. But we knew today that if Patrick didn't escape today, and if Patrick had went back, then Patrick would have been accepting that there was something wrong with his mental health.
Tracy, not just that. Patrick sent a text recently to another friend, and again, we want to protect these identities. That if I end up going to Belfast, they will finish me off. I've been right all along, my friend, he said, Patrick did. I've been right all along what they're doing to me, and they will finish me off if they send me to Belfast. I don't kind of know what that meant, but I assume that there was some plan to section him or to give him more drugs in a bigger hospital.
Well, the one I know in Belfast, they were probably talking about Knockbracken, because Knockbracken is a lockup. And Knockbracken is out beside High Bank Young Offenders.
Yeah, that's how it was mentioned, actually, like a semi-secure prison unit where you're locked up in your room all the time. You can't go out ever for any reason. Yeah,
that's Knockbracken lockup, and I remember that was run by Dr. MacDonald. Dr. MacDonald, who runs the psychiatric units in the Mater, the Knockbracken, Purleysburn, Windsor House. So this doctor runs all these very high secure psychiatric units where you can't get out. Knockbracken is the part of cells.
Anyway, back in the days he was taken into this hospital in Southern NHS Trust. We've named it for In Talk Radio. It was collusion on the NHS, because I think it was collusion not only between the GP, Dr. Sabowell of Campbell Surgery in Dungannon. It was collusion between the social workers, the Gervins, man and woman. It was a collusion between the GP's complaint system. Now, when he was first assessed in the hospital, now this was by Dr. Lynn McCullough, or Cullagh. She said, look, Patrick, you're not mentally ill, but at the end of the day, I'm following orders. It's out of my hands, and I have to detain you.
Well, she needs to be held accountable. I don't care what her job status was. I don't care if she was the one that had to assess Patrick Coyle and she knew he wasn't mentally ill, then she should not be working in the line of mental health. If she was ordered to section him, then what does that say?
Exactly. And two other people that we need to name and shame while we're at it. It's the Trust Older People and Primary Care Director, Angela McVie, and the Communications Officer, Patricia McVie. Now, we haven't found any evidence that they're linked together as family or relations, but they're certainly linked with the churchman that knows Patrick's dad. Now, maybe you want to elaborate a little bit on that situation with the churchman that was found with indecent images.
Well, from what I know, I can't remember, the Father McVeigh, I think it is Father McVeigh.
Another one, yeah,
from what Patrick was telling me, Father McFay is very friendly with his father, with Patrick's father, and they have been very close. But Patrick's father is also closely related in friendship ways with Dr. Peters. Now, Patrick's father has been trying to seize the house, has been trying to take the property. A patient who was released from the hospital, Patrick trusted this patient enough to go to the house to try and pick up mail and paperwork to get it to him. And when this person went to go to the house, the father and his brother, I think, jumped out of the car, and they were demanding, asking this person in particular, did they have the keys of that property? This person said, no, I do not. She said, I'm only coming up here to have a look to make sure it hasn't been broken into. As I told Patrick I would look out for the house, and that person left. Now, they were sitting eagerly ready to take that property, ready to take the keys off this person to take the property over. Now, this man's own father, this is Patrick Coyle's father is doing this to him. His own flesh and blood. Now, from what I believe, the children have been there have been court proceedings, but I will be meeting with people. Midweek about these court proceedings that took place, and to see what exactly was used in order for these court proceedings to take place. We will be asking for the court paper rules. We'll be asking, was Patrick Coyle sanctioned under the Mental Health Act? Was it agreed by a judge? Was it agreed by the courts? Was it agreed by the proper people, the people in authority? We believe it wasn't. This is all done behind closed doors. This is all done for the pure sake of wanting Patrick's house, wanting Patrick's kids. Now, when I was speaking, I called the hospital earlier to make them aware that Patrick wouldn't be back because he'd escaped. Made them aware that Patrick is with people who are professionals. We will be making sure we get Patrick reassessed, so that he has the legal documents to state that he is not mentally ill. Now, this is what's more important. When I called the hospital, his bed manager, David, was sort of shocked. He was very dumbfounded when he realised Patrick wasn't coming back. He kept repeating to me, look, Patrick is going to get into trouble if he doesn't come back. He's going to be in serious trouble if he doesn't come back. And I said to him, Patrick's the only one here that's not going to be in trouble. You're going to be in trouble.
Tracy, on that note, because, I have to protect my own self as well for being somebody who, letting all this information out and getting, in effect, an escapee of the mental health system on the show as soon as we can get him on. I had to call the BBC in Belfast, the planning team. I had to call the ITV region up in that area. I had to search the internet. Nobody from a mental health hospital named Patrick Coyle or a 40-plus-year-old male or whatever, all the combinations in Google searches. It's not been out on the media. No one. I've sent all the details to the police that we're going to have the show tonight. Not one person's looking for this Patrick Coyle. Wonder why?
Well, the police are looking for him because he received a call earlier on, about an hour or so ago, from the police. When he answered his phone, they said that they were the police, but Patrick didn't give him the opportunity to speak. He hung up the phone on the police. At the end of the day, he doesn't have to explain himself to anybody, and he certainly doesn't have to explain himself to the police, because the police are going to be hit with all this evidence as well, and they're going to have to, sit down and round the table and think, what are we going to do about this? Because we've been doing our homework, as you know, Andy. Over these last few weeks, we have been doing our homework.
And our common law lawyer friend in London, Patrick Cullinane, he's had the interview officer. He's interviewed the officer who actually arrested Patrick Coyle. And, he's got a lot of evidence. I had that evidence. I've got it somewhere. We've all got it. It's all on YouTube as well. But the interviewing officer, which I call it, the arresting officer, he's at trouble because he could have, done the right thing on that day and done it privately rather than arresting him. He first said, I'm going to arrest Patrick Coyle because of a VAT fraud. Then I'm going to arrest him because of another reason. Then eventually it was because of mental health. You know, the police in Dungannon area have to be held accountable too.
Of course they do. Oh, we'll be paying them a visit. They're not going to walk away from this either.
Yeah, I sent them the email. I mean, in all fairness to a lot of these organisations, they do act on other people's tip-offs. But unfortunately, these tip-offs are often lies.
They're all lies. Of course they are. And they're built on lies. And people's got to realise, these police, social services and doctors, they're doing this many, many years. You know, they're like little pros when it comes to stealing children and stealing property and basically killing people. I mean, they almost killed Patrick Coyle. You have people like Dr. Armstrong and Dr. Peters and social services and, you know, when you're targeted, when they target you, then that's when it becomes a problem. And what their biggest mistake was, having Patrick Coyle all these weeks in there and not pumping drugs into him.